The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome on into First and 12. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry with you. It's another week looking at Big 12 football. Man, this league just always delivers some epic results. It's a league of chaos. They thrive on the chaos, and we thrive on providing some Sunday chaos as we break down the week that was in Big 12 football. It was a crazy week, Alex.
Oh, yes, it was, Mitch. And why would we have expected anything different? I mean, my goodness, we've been delivering. Every week, and specifically with the BYU ending and then, just Utah's season taking all these weird turns and the league just overall. And, of course, Kansas is the best team in the conference now. I don't know if you knew that. So there are just so many things that we can break down with this conference. And, of course, as always, our program brought to you by Macy's, the grocery store that we love, their support on this program. The freshest fruits and vegetables from the local farms and your local favorite brands. Let's kick everything off right here. Right off the bat, we're going to get to BYU and Arizona State down in Tempe. Let's do it.
The BYU Breakdown.
Cougs fall to Arizona State 28-23. Man, I'll give BYU credit that it was a lot closer outcome, final score than I was thinking it would be at halftime, but still, BYU comes up short and suffers their second consecutive loss. Alex, I was there in Tempe yesterday at Mountain America Stadium. I hate saying that. It should be Sun Devil Stadium forever.
Come on,
it's always Sun Devil Stadium. That scene at the end of the game was wild. It was tense. It was really nuts, and we got the full experience of Sun Devil fans in their purest intoxicated form.
So that's what I was going to say. So what Mitch is not telling you is Mitch captured on X this video of this ASU student who decided to tangle a little bit with the law enforcement down there at Mountain America Field, and it was quite. He was like, okay, I'm sorry, okay, I got it. So and look, if you watched it, we were watching it in the studio, and we're looking at the thing, and we're just head in hands going, they are never going to clear this field. I'm surprised that they did. I mean, it was just another wild ending. The reality was the ending was wild. The beginning was absolute terror for BYU because it was a slow start. And interestingly enough, Mitch, and the thing that I had in mind was I think we all banked on BYU's defense being super solid, and the reality was none of the three phases of BYU football, special teams, defense, or offense, showed up in that first half. It wasn't just the offense. We wondered if the offense would wake up, but it was the defense struggling, stopping Cam Scadaboo. I don't know if you know this. In the scouting report, he runs the football for Arizona State. So they obviously knew they were going to get a huge dose of him. And Arizona State, to their credit, they came out swinging. This is exactly what they do. It's exactly what they did against Kansas State last week. They were up 24-0, lickety split, and they played tough. And they sort of trail off in the second half. And that's exactly what happened here. BYU's scoring in the red zone woes, all that stuff, kind of got put to bed in the second half. I don't know if BYU's offense turned a corner there. There were certainly some bright spots, and Jake Retzlaff was finding a lot of a groove, and that last pick there, I think everybody's going to look and go, oh, my goodness. I mean, it was just an absolute gut punch because they were marching. It felt very much like last week when they were marching, and they get so close, and then no cigar there at the end. So, I was surprised. The tale of two halves there, Arizona State, it wasn't just being up 21-0 and then 21-3 at the half. It was that 28-9 when they just responded immediately when BYU got a touchdown that I thought, oh, boy. And, to the credit of BYU, they made the adjustments, and it was just way too little, way too late. And now the top of the conference is an absolute dang mess.
BYU was non-existent on the ground, 23 carries for 94 yards. I thought that was a disappointing performance when your top running back basically in the second half was Keelan Marion jet sweeps. Like, come on, BYU.
Right, yeah.
At some point, are you going to run L.J. Martin or not? He ends up with only 9 carries for 42 yards. It seems like if there's ever a play that goes for negative yards with LJ, they just abandon that and forget,
right.
Oh, they got a running back. And Kalani said in the postgame, we'll hear from Kalani, coming up today, and you'll also hear from Kyle Whittingham as well, reacting to Utah's Iowa State game. But Kalani's like, yeah, we got some pretty good running backs too. Well, highlight them. Cam Scatterbo, from the moment, that 16-yard run on the opening play, he set the tone. And BYU was very aggressive, and I like that Kalani was, he came in, he set the narrative this week that we want to recapture our identity. Well, your identity was being an aggressive team on fourth down, so I understand the whole move to fourth down, maybe a punt, but you go for it.
Yeah.
And it ended up backfiring because ASU pounced, and they set the tone with Scatterbo, who was brilliant on that first half, and you're thinking, ooh, this is going to be a long day for BYU if they don't get things fixed. And they didn't really get things fixed until about the last 25 minutes of the game.
Yeah, that's
when things started to fix defensively.
Yeah, that's, I think, about what we said when in the post game. The thing that we went back and forth on, because it was like, oh, it was two halves. I said, nah, it wasn't even. It was really 1.5 quarters in the second half. That's what it felt like. It was. And look, and the thing that really made the difference in those last 20, 25 minutes of the game was, one, Arizona State's not a good fourth quarter team. They are in the negative in the fourth quarter compared to all of their other opponents, and they sort of fall off. And so you anticipated that might happen. But I mean, I'm telling you, this is what's interesting about it is the push on the offensive line was in Arizona's favor, and then on the defensive line in Arizona's favor, they were absolutely dominating the trenches. And it wasn't until those last 20 minutes that BYU decided, you know what, we can beat these guys at the line of scrimmage, and they did. So second half, I mean, BYU had, I don't even know how many yards they had in the first half, Mitch, but they ended up with 391 on the day. Arizona State with 401. Sam Leavitt was just about as good as everybody had advertised. They had great play calling. The onside kick squib, pop it to Talon Alfrey, whatever they wanted to call it on that play. It was a brilliant call, and you know what? How many times has BYU been outsmarted on special teams this year? Not very often. And so that to me was also a big indicator. Special teams struggled, offense struggled, defense struggled, and obviously a 28-23 win. You still had the opportunity to win the game at the end, which is wild.
I don't like the whole moral victory thing, and I still don't subscribe to that because this is supposed to be where you know who you are. You're not trying to find yourself at this juncture of the season. But I will say that the way that they played in the second half erased any narrative and conversation that we would be having potentially tonight or today if BYU was fraudulent. Because I'll tell you, at that first half, at the halftime break when they're down 21-3, I thought, man, everything we thought we knew about BYU, that was smoke and mirrors, and that did not show up down the stretch here. So they did kind of get back to who they looked like in stretches, earlier in the year in that second half. But still, that was a poor performance from BYU all around. And on a week where the coaches were saying, oh, it's a good week of practice, and players last week called out the effort in practice, and the thought is, oh, they're practicing well, and then they stumble out of the gates. It was a poor showing from BYU. The fans showed up in huge numbers. I think even awesome. ASU fans were thinking, whoa, we didn't expect it to be this much blue. BYU fans showed up in big numbers, and they didn't have much to cheer about until late in that game. And, I think Jake Retzlaff, he got the full experience once again. He's going to give you some moments. That the pass to JoJo Phillips, that 21-yard strike for a touchdown, great ball. But then the interception that was intended for Darius Laster, that's just the Jake experience. And you got to give credit, to Arizona State's defensive front. I underestimated them. I thought they were a lot better and more aggressive and physical than BYU in this matchup. And credit to Kenny Dillingham and his squad for being ready for the task of delivering a big win for the Valley.
BYU's defense did have some moments that they can hang a lot of what their toughness was about. The fourth down stop to start I think it was the first drive in the second half for ASU. They stopped them on the 4 or the 5 or whatever it was. That was big because they went down and scored. They stopped it again on that last one. Isaiah Glasker is a dude, man. I mean, that guy knows how to play. And what's crazy is that that matchup between Scatterbo and BYU's linebackers, I was hoping maybe it would be nobody else likes to tackle them on that first hit, but this BYU team will. They fell just like everybody else did to Cam Scatterbo, which is you can't arm tackle that guy. You can't even full body tackle him. You got to rope that dude. And man, it's he's tough. Arizona State's a real deal. They're trending up, and BYU has sort of plateaued a little bit, but I agree with you that second half, there were glimpses there that they could probably look at going into this week, and maybe they got the red zone thing off their back. Their third down conversions were brilliant yesterday, and that's something that they have been terrible at. And Arizona State's defense is usually rock solid on. And so that's something you could also take into next week. Look, you got to beat Houston next week for BYU. That's the only way to be able to even get into the scenarios that you have to have happen next week for BYU to still get into the Big 12 championship game. And guess who they would probably be playing in that Big 12 championship game? Could you imagine a rematch between Arizona State and BYU in Arlington? That would be phenomenal, especially considering some of the videos that we saw Sam Levitt put out on social media tonight. So it's really, or last night, really fun. So this is just all the stuff that I love, though, about football, man. It just makes it so much more fun. Let's take our first break. We'll come back. We're going to break down Kyle Whittingham's thoughts on their loss, the 7th loss in a row for the first time in Kyle Whittingham's head coaching tenure, and the first time that this Utah program has lost 7 games in a row since 1986. It's a part of history you don't want to be on, and certainly a part of history that Kyle Whittingham has almost never been a part of at this school during his 24 years as an assistant and a head coach. We'll come back. We've got Kyle Whittingham next. It's 1st and 12, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.